Hi, my name is Ken Isaacs and I'm employed with Fantasy Tours. And about 2 weeks ago, I took the vaccine. The reason why I took it is because the business I'm in, the tourism sector, I know these cruise industries, the cruise lines, they're gonna need for us in the tourism sector to have it. And for tourism to really pick up back in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I see the necessity for it.
Virus in our place and do not procrastinate, but rather let us vaccinate. Get vaccinated today.
RapidPro is an open source software that allows you to easily build and scale mobile-based applications from anywhere in the world. RapidPro powers the way governments and development partners connect, engage, and collaborate directly with the most important and often most marginalized voices in their communities. Although RapidPro can be used across a wide range of sectors, it is a particularly powerful tool for international development because its common platform makes it easy to adapt applications for different contexts and needs. From empowering youth in rural villages to report issues in their community, to facilitating exchange of best practices among teachers, to sending prenatal care tips and reminders to mothers, RapidPro provides an open source software solution for mobile-based services worldwide. RapidPro can power the connection between government leaders and the most important voices in their countries, while allowing organizations to connect those voices across borders and geographies. Anyone can use RapidPro without the need of a programmer or external technical support. Using RapidPro's Flow Builder, you can quickly build, test, and monitor communications and better identify and respond to needs in real time. What are you waiting for? Get started using RapidPro today.
Hi, I am Jean Johnny Finley from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a retail store manager and personal development coach. There is no time like the present to do it for the future. Let's do this for tomorrow. Get vaccinated. Be a champion, be a hero. I got vaccinated to protect myself, my family, co-workers, and my customers, and as my civic duty. Together, we can achieve. Let's do this for tomorrow.
Mobilisation Express, where this evening it's Mobilisation Table Talks and we're discussing domestic violence. My name is Philkel Jeffers, Administrative Officer within the Ministry of National Mobilisation, and my responsibilities are Communications and Marketing Officer within that ministry. This evening, our program Mobilisation Express is a magazine program of the Ministry of National Mobilisation, Social Development, Gender Affairs, the Family, Persons with Disability, Youth, Housing and Informal Settlement. The aim of this program is to bring you updates on programs, plans, and other initiatives of the Ministry of National Mobilisation to you, the general public, so that you can stay informed about the various ways you can access these services. The Gender Affairs Division over the years has embarked on public outreach activities through an anti-violence campaign. This program specifically targets the victims of domestic violence across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Statistics indicate that recently there has been a marked increase in the reported cases of domestic violence and gender-based violence here on the island. In light of the above, the division is seeking to strategically launch comprehensive media campaigns to sensitize the general public on how we can combat this and what are some of the implications of domestic violence on St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Our objective today is basically to empower you, give you the information, and together let us all take action. In the studio with me today and also joining me via Zoom I'll tell you first of who's in the studio. I have Ms. Barbara Charles. She's the social worker at the Gender Affairs Division. I also have Mr. Jelani Williams. He's a barrister at law. And joining us via Zoom is Ms. Nicola Williams. She's a sergeant of police with the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our program here this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so what we'll do here is that we're going to look at an overview of what is domestic violence, what are some of the statistics that are with domestic violence, and each of the panelists would have about 5 or so minutes to say their piece on it, and we will go through the program. If you have any comments or anything that you wish to share with us this evening, feel free to do so on the Facebook page. And we also want to thank VC3, who is our main supporter here this evening. We are also live on all of the pages for the Ministry of National Mobilization. We are live also on Bay Hill News Network. So share your comments with us here this evening, and we will definitely answer any question that you have. I want, before I allow you to present your pieces, to just share some statistics that we found from 2012 or thereabout to 2020. So during that period, there have been 1,399 reported cases of domestic violence throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines between January of 2012 and April of 2020. There were 2 reported cases in 2010, 2 in 2011, 51 in 2012, 173 in 2013, 144 in 2014, 36 in 2015, 37 in 2016, 371 in 2017, 273 in 2018, 191 in 2019, and 119 in 2020. We can then break it down by geographical area for you so you have a better understanding. So we have basically 324 of these cases were from the Eastern District Division. These are the police divisions. And that division is from Connery to Owia. 352 from the South Central, which is Babu, to Calico and includes Mesopotamia. 341 were in the Central Kingstown District, that is Kingstown to Kittels. 94 from the Southwestern Division, that's Vermont to Barley. 74 were from the Northwestern, so that's Spring Village to Chateaubelair. And 211 were from the Grenadines. Interesting statistics. With regards to the victims of these crimes, 416 were males, 972 were females, and 8 persons did not state whether they are male or female. 218 were juveniles. In terms of educational levels, we have persons who have received primary education. They were 175. And then we have persons who went on to attain secondary education were 22, and 5 persons with tertiary. All right? And of all of those statistics that we listed earlier, 1,186 did not state their educational attainment. I'll save the bit for a little later, but ladies and gentlemen, I think that's a mouthful, something that we need to be worried about. And at this point in time, I'll start with you, Barbara, being the social worker at the ministry, to give us an overview of what is domestic violence so that people have a clearer understanding, and then we can delve into a bit.
Thank you, Phil Cole. What is domestic violence? Domestic violence, according to the Act number 7 of 2015, means any controlling or abusive behavior that harms the health, safety, or well-being of a person or a child. Domestic violence is also defined as a pattern of coercive and controlling behaviors and tactics used by one person over another to gain power and control. Some abusers are able to exert complete control over a victim's every action without ever using violence or only using subtle threats of violence. All types of abuse are devastating to victims. Domestic violence is a pervasive, life-threatening crime that affects millions of individuals across the world, regardless of age, economic status, race, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, ability, or educational level. Now I'll give you some examples of domestic violence. One, we have physical abuse or threats of physical abuse, and this refers to the deed that intentionally results in bodily harm to a victim. It includes slapping, choking, hitting, and kicking an intimate partner. What to look for if there is any form of abuse. Physical marks. This may be easy to identify. You can see it: black eyes, bruises on the arms, red marks on the neck, sprained wrists, and busted lips. It is easy for a victim to try and cover up the physical sign with clothing, for example, wearing long sleeves or scarves all the time. Sometimes you may see someone wearing sunglasses indoor and outdoor, even if it's raining. Number two, sexual abuse or threats of sexual abuse. This refers to the unwanted control of the victim's sexuality or sexual performance that abuses, disgraces, or breaches the dignity of another individual. Forcing a sexual act, rape, and refusal to engage in safe sex practices are some of sexual abuse. We have emotional, verbal, or psychological abuse. It is the repeated humiliation of a victim which diminishes that person's self-esteem and leads to hurt feelings. This is done by an abuser who uses name-calling, repeated insults, and intimidation. Signs of emotional abuse are the person shows a sense of helplessness or despair. This happens because the victim believes that he or she will never be able to get away from the hands of the abuser. The victim may show a state of alertness. They appear never able to relax. They become edgy. They develop a drinking problem, nervousness around people, withdrawn and non-communicative or non-responsive. They're very apologetic or they become very weak. Individuals show signs of low self-esteem. They think of themselves as a nobody. Symptoms of depression, like talking about suicide or attempting suicide. Few signs of psychological abuse. These are: the individual appear always angry and aggressive when responding to individuals such as friends and their own family. Most of the behavior is done to the victim's children, especially if the child looks like the abuser. If not careful, the victim can now become the perpetrator. These behaviors are exhibited because the victim has not internalized what happened to them and how it is affecting him or her as an adult as well as the children. Some sort of behavioral changes occur as well. You can look at an individual who was cheerful, friendly, and outgoing has become very quiet and withdrawn. Let's move on to economic abuse. It is the removal or limiting of financial resources which the victim needs and is entitled to. Examples of this are controlling spouse's income, restricting access to money, and preventing a partner from seeking employment. I want us to note here, withholding financial resources is an abuse to both the victim and the children, because once those finances are withheld, the children are the ones who suffer the consequences. Added to other types of abuse I just mentioned there are intimidation, harassment, stalking, damage to or destruction of property, or entry into the applicant's residence without consent, where the parties do not share the same residence. I would like to reiterate at this time, domestic abuse can happen to anyone regardless of their social, educational, or financial status. Simply means no one is excluded from domestic abuse.
All right, so thank you for that introduction there, Barbara. That's quite a mouthful. Mr. Williams, I would beg to come back to you after I speak to the police, because I want us to have a sense of the legal implication and how that whole legality makes a difference. So I would now go to Sergeant Williams.
Okay.
Nicola Williams. And for your opening bits as a police officer, how do you see domestic violence, and what are some of the things that you have noticed over your years in service?
Concern. When we look at the statistics, it is really, really, really alarming. And as a police officer, what I can tell you, from these statistics, there are many of these matters that most persons will come to the police and they will say that they do not want any further police action or any court action. And that is really, really sad. What people have to consider here is their self-worth. And I would have discovered over the years that a lot of people do not have any self-worth, because when you don't have any self-worth, you accept anything and you stand for nothing. And if you stand for nothing, you will fall for anything. And that is one of the problems we have in our society. Too many persons have been abused domestically, whether it be boyfriend and girlfriend, children and parents. And at the end of the day, when the police would have worked hard to make an arrest, there are many persons who will come forward and say that, oh, I don't want anything. He's my husband, he's my boyfriend, I have my children to look after. But that is where it gives leeway for these matters to escalate. And we have a repeating process where persons have been abused once because of the fact that they drop the matters in court or they ask the police not to continue. They are being repeatedly abused. And the society, not knowing the fact, you will hear it all the time, oh, the police didn't do anything, the police didn't do this, and the police didn't do that. Most of the time, that is not true. I bet to differ, the police, most of the time, if not all the time, will intercede in these matters, but because we are a country of laws, we have to abide by the laws. The police walk by the laws. And if a complainant who is a victim say that they doesn't want any further police action, whether it be before the police or before the magistrate, there is nothing much that can be done. The magistrate is there, and then the matters will have to be withdrawn. So many of the times when we are blamed, when the court system is blamed, it is not true. As I said before, people are to know their self-worth. It is not because you are in poverty means that you must accept abuse. That is not acceptable. You have to stand up for what is right. And the police officer is there to work along with all the stakeholders, and we do, but it's up to the victims, as I said, at the end of the day, whether or not they want these matters to come to an end, whether or not they want to stop the abuse. And I'll stay there for now.
All right, thank you very much, Sergeant Williams. Now I go to you, Lawyer Jelani Williams. Jelani, she raised some interesting issues there. And having been one who would have had access to and been a part of the whole development of this legislation, talk us through a bit about what can and cannot be done in it.
Okay, great. And thank you very much, Philco. In relation to the Domestic Violence Act, number 7 of 2015, I must really say that